I was watching the Book of Boba Fett and I recognized this prop immediately because I used the same one in my sci-fi short film, The ROBOSEXUal. It was a vintage handheld video game like a handful of others I used to make convincing sci-fi props. And here's how you can make your own. Okay, so you're like me and you're an independent filmmaker trying to make a low-budget sci-fi film. How do you make convincing sci-fi props? I found that the best results were from vintage handheld video games. Because the idea here is like it's all about the shape. So you can paint something, you can age something, but if the shape is modern and recognizable, you're gonna know, oh, that's a painted thing. Like the Venus razors as the communicators in The Phantom Menace. The Book of Boba Fett uses Bolatronic game as a tablet device. When I got it, I imagined it as a doorway panel. I also have this handheld basketball game and a Space Invaders game. Again, all of them have a very intentional, sculpted shape, which looks like some type of sci-fi device, but isn't recognizable to the eye. So now it's time to start actually making these props. The first step is painting. I got my boyfriend Kevin to help me out. We got some spray paint, some plastic toys, and some random dollar store items, and then went up to the roof to do some tests. We sanded everything down and then spray painted it a matte black or this kind of chrome finish. The matte black turned out okay. The chrome finish looked okay on this little action figure as well. Step 2 is aging.
I'm old!
I've always loved that Star Wars is a lived-in future where nothing is super clean. Everything is kind of grungy and used, and I wanted the same feel for all of my props. This is a technique to do an aging. It's to do this overall wash. So I use this paint, mix it with some water just to create this really liquidy mixture, and then put it all over this Star Trek phaser. This is a prop I painted for a photo shoot Kevin and I did dressing up as Star Trek characters. Cute, huh? So basically, put this everywhere. You want it especially in all the cracks and then wipe it all off. So it's as if, you know, this item got all dirty and then you tried to wipe it, but it still remains in all the crevices. It looked a little muddy, but also not terribly bad. The other way to age metal props is to use a silver paint and kind of put it on a paper towel or a piece of paper and get all the edges. What it looks like is as if the paint scraped off and there was a chrome finish underneath. This is the same technique we used on the phasers, and it works here as well. Next step is doing the props themselves. Hello, so we are taking apart some of these props. Kevin here. Hello. We're gonna see if we can separate the kind of covering from the screen so that we can just spray paint the covering without having to tape it all off. And then this thing, we can just pop out this glass and spray paint this. Moment of truth. Let's see what this looks like on the inside. Ooh, it looks like a little coffin.
A coffin? Yep.
I'm also having so much fun doing this because I love doing this. Thanks for having me. Ooh, we got some buttons that come out nice and easy. Gently. We got this out. We clean this. Beautiful. This was exactly what I was hoping for. And same with the buttons. They pop out really easily. That's fantastic. We are up here on the roof. Gonna spray paint some props. This hand scanner. High stakes, because this is a hero prop. Where's the chrome? Wait a minute for a second cup.
I think it's looking really good.
It is crazy what a single coat of paint can do to make these props look like real props and not just little handheld video games.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were gonna spray the paint the floor.
Me neither. I didn't think that through. So here are all the props that we spray painted. This is that bowling game that they use in the Book of Boba Fett. Here's the hand scanner. I shined some like RGB lighting on the hand scanner to sort of see what it would look like in different lighting conditions. The thing was, when I compare it next to a real chrome object like this antenna, it does not look the same at all. So I'm actually kind of disappointed in how this chrome finish turned out. It looked really good on the action figure, but on smooth, flat surfaces, it didn't look very good at all. It was also a mistake to sort of go for the front of, a hero prop as of my first go. Definitely should have done some more tests with it just to see how the paint finished. I think we're gonna have to sand it down and repaint it, maybe a gunmetal or something. Ideally the same sort of matte finish that the recorder has. The other thing about the recorder is that I forgot to sand off the force beam control wording on the Space Invaders game, so I might have to sand that down and give it another coat in that area, which I hope keeps it looking good. I think that bowling game wins for most improved, hands down. It went from an interesting shape to something kind of intimidating, which fits with the company really well. So step 3 is fixing mistakes, or I guess we could call that iterating. So it's time to get all the old paint off to get ready for a new coat. What the hell is in Goo Gone? What a strange liquid. So all of these buttons had some texture on the front of them that you can see here. I'm gonna get all the paint off, sand it down, and there we go, nice and smooth. There's a bunch of raised text on this Space Invaders game that I should have sanded before painting. So I'm gonna do that first with kind of rough grit and then a finer grit sandpaper to get it nice and smooth and ready for a new coat of paint. Day 2, spray painting.
We're getting frosty.
I got a spray paint that's sort of like frosted glass, and I'm putting that behind this maroon glass on the door scanner prop.
Make a nice even wet layer. Can you edit in some frosting?
Oh God. Hey, note to you guys painting on rooftops. Use a box or something like that instead of paper. The green paint definitely looks excellent, much better than the chrome. I'm really glad we changed that up. It looks like realistic and also looks very like military-like. The company technology is turning out to be a little more Galactic Empire vibes than I was originally thinking, but not mad about it. My big lesson from this is always start with a test piece before doing the hero. I definitely got too excited and made some mistakes. But now that I see all these pieces, it looks good, and I'm excited to now put everything together, get it all assembled, and see how these two hero props look side by side. I really love this hand scanner prop. It's probably my favorite one. Step 4 is adding the visual effects. I took some photos of the props in different lighting conditions, again, to kind of see what they're gonna look like with the lighting treatments that we're gonna give them in the film. But the other component to this is visual effects, because the props are only half of it. The visual effects are the other component to make this look convincingly real. I thought I wanted some type of holographic interface that is in 3D space and tracking and sort of like pops up. And I tried doing a test like that and it looked okay, but didn't really organically fit with the design of the things themselves. So then I decided to do an older, 80s computer interface with a dark screen, light text. It turned out great. I had these 2 shots, one with the scanner. I added some Star Trek sound effects just to sell it a little bit more. The workflow for getting an interface onto the prop itself is going to work, and even better is something that I can do myself. Getting ready for production, I put some green painter's tape on the screens themselves and then put some tracker markers, and that's just gonna help with the whole process of adding the visual effects. The green painter's tape isn't necessarily to do a chroma key, it's just so that I can very clearly see the edges, because I'm gonna end up rotoscoping anyways. The tracker markers can be literally anything you want. I just do some X's and triangles, just high contrast points. I'm gonna be using Mocha in After Effects, which is a planar tracker, so it kind of tracks the entire plane of the scanner itself, not just points. So the points themselves aren't as important as having a bunch of them, so Mocha can recognize this entire surface and see all of its changes. I wired this little thing I got from Adafruit. It's like a flexible LED panel. When it's hooked up to like the 12 volt plug into the wall, it lights up perfectly, but because we're hanging, this is going behind here and we're hanging this up by a door in a hallway, I wanted to wire it with this 9 volt battery plug, but it actually doesn't take, 9 volts isn't enough to power the whole thing. But what it does is it actually just powers some of them and then like kind of flickers. And it's actually like a lot cooler than it just being steady and super bright, especially when it's like, you know, behind this. It feels much more like some type of code situation. So that was like a happy little accident. It was just my birthday and Kevin surprised me with the CYBERDECK that Connor uses. For weeks he's been building this thing. It's like a computer within a briefcase, a metal briefcase. And it's got motherboard pieces, a screen, old vintage video game components. It's wired with LEDs and EL wire. It's incredible. It's exactly what I was imagining. Oh my God. Love you, Kevin. And then step 5 is adding final details. I use both of those aging techniques on the scanner here and put this yellow contact paper around where the handheld video game also had this sticker. It just felt like that space needed something extra. And when you look really closely, it's kind of like a little DIY. Even the company logo here was done separately and glued on top. But in camera, everything looks fine. And I think that's the final thing here is like, to the eye, these things definitely look like props. But when you see them in camera and you add the visual effects and you add the sound effects, they feel so much more real, and there's a ton that you can get away with. There were a ton of other props used in the films, but these were the main hero props, and watching the Book of Boba Fett made me realize, hey, I guess we're onto something that even the professionals are doing. So hopefully you found this helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more behind the scenes videos like this, as well as tutorials.